Hi everyone. Our project is called Seattle Outreach Services.
Which I
My
think
name
is a clever acronym.
Indeed, SOS, yes. My name is Dana.
My Frika.
Max.
Hi, Nate. Hello.
Hey guys.
Hello.
So this idea the idea for the site kind of came out of hearing a couple of stories on NPR in which I heard about disadvantaged folks, homeless folks being able to try to find services in Seattle and getting to somewhere, making a trek, getting on a bus, going somewhere to a place where they wanted a meal or a shelter or somewhere where they needed something, and arriving to find that there was nothing for them. The meal was finished, the shelter was full, something like that. So the idea was to create a service wherein those folks, when they had access to internet, either on a phone or at a public outlet like a library or something like that, to create a simple site that would be a really good resource for the services that were available in Seattle, and to take that a step further and to actually allow folks to make reservations. Just at either the food services or shelters, things like that, while they were on the site, so that when they made that trek to get to that place, they would be assured that something would be waiting there for them. So that's where the idea kind of came out of.
Right. And to clarify, this is for free charity meals. Right. So lunches that food banks put on or stuff like that. It was actually something that I had wanted to do for a while before, but didn't until this project. So it was something that I had kind of had research on before as well. So yeah. So this is the button.
Yeah.
Magical button.
Yeah.
And it takes you to. We compiled a list of a bunch of free meals across Seattle that were put on by charities or food banks or shelters, and they can be sorted by neighborhood or the type of meal. Ooh, magic! And so we figured this would be since it's kind of hard to get around when you're not so financially, that's the word. We figured it would be easy to show depending on what neighborhood you're in or what neighborhood you will be in, just show a list. And once you click on it, get a handy little
Little pin in the map.
pinpoint.
Yeah.
And then, want to talk about the reservation?
Yeah, and like it was mentioned earlier, the page will allow people to make reservations, so they wouldn't have to walk all the way up there or spend their only few dollars on bus fare and realize that there's nothing for them. They can reserve a slot, plan out their day, fill in the requirements, name, age, gender, either phone or email or both, to qualify for that reservation. Choose the dates, how many people are coming in, if they have a pet with them or not, and if they have any comments. And that takes you to another page where you obviously have the number of people you're reserving for the day. So this is a confirmation page and the location with specified time, operational time, open hours, and we're planning different stages of this project, and our 2.0 stage would include more feature, more in-depth analysis, like how many spots are open, right? And whether the place is open or not. So we had, I think we decided not to implement yet. In this stage, if we go back, the reservation button like that, for example, would change, so the person would know whether to, go in and fill in the form, or if there's no more room for them. And colleagues mentioned earlier, that will also expand in the next version, in the 2.0 SOS app, to not just food but shelter, donations, clothes,
resources.
yeah, other resources that will be accessible to disadvantaged people of our community, of Seattle community. Yeah. So we had really big plans to implement.
Sure.
There's a lot of work to be done.
So
Expansion.
this part is just whatever location you click on, it just reminds you where you're reserving for.
Click the right button. Yeah, and just dovetailing what Max was saying, we are currently in our knowledge base. We are taking the information that is being collected from the form here and saving it in an object, in a JSON object that can then be accessed. Or when we learn how to kind of send that up to a server or put it into a database somewhere, hopefully get some of the local charities and services on board where they would actually be able to receive those reservations and then use that to be able to plan out. We have X number of people with reservations. We need to prepare obviously more people for more meals for walk-ins and things like that, but at least get a certain sense of how many folks they should expect for each meal.
Right, and make sure there's a meal for each person who makes a reservation.
And you probably noticed the restriction page if we go back, if there are any limits for types of people that are served in each location. And of course, a lot of plans to expand on that. Males or females, is there an age restriction, pets, no pets, family friendly or not, and other services that they have, mail services for homeless, if there's career or job aid, career placement or development, things like that, rehab services. The possibilities are endless, unfortunately, because there's so many things to tackle. But at the same time, that is a good thing to work on eventually, solve them.
And we also have this button in the instance of maybe there's a social services worker who knows of a location that's not on the list. They can suggest it,
Sure.
and it'll be sent to us to either approve and add to our database or ask for more information or whatever.
Yeah, we were hoping to find an API or a list of the services that were available so that we could draw from that. Since that wasn't really available, that's why we had to kind of sift through a lot of information that we found through Google searches and things like that. And so we were trying to kind of assist in building our database of services available by having folks come to us and actually suggest things that we could add to our list. Yeah. And again, that is also, what you're going to say, that's saved in an object that we can review and make sure that somebody's not, trying to add something inappropriate before we post it to our list. Back to the main page.
Cool font.
Yeah. So
That's the basic gist of our work here today. As my other teammate said, the ultimate goal is to be able to have this for every free meal service and every neighborhood, and also shelters, just anything that maybe people who have them take them for granted, things that they can find out in the world of Seattle. That's
I think, throughout the process, I think we also met with some of the same barriers that you guys did in terms of figuring out the GitHub, merge conflicts and things like that.
that was particularly frustrating. Because it hates my guts. And I think one of the other issues that we faced was that we were sometimes working on different things and not necessarily knowing what the other people were working on. I think it worked out okay, but I think if we did it over again, I would want to just have more of a line of communication on what everyone was doing.
it once again was a challenge that we learned from, and then it was fun looking at the graph. Hey, Kylie did this, right? Or somebody else did that, and then we're merging, we're checking. That was the biggest thing we learned from each other, and later on we became better at it, posting things in Slack. Hey, can somebody review this and merge that? That was so cool, and somebody goes in and merges that. Now we have that the dev branch, and speaking of styling, we changed our design. We didn't really know how it's gonna look. It's gonna be so smooth and good looking. We had different designs, and as we went along, we made improvements, took things out, added other things, polished them, and changed functionality. There's a lot of work that we changed along the way, and that was another really cool thing for me personally. How somebody else can improve another person's idea or utilize it and then find something that needs to be fixed, so then it's working better, and like learning from others as well. Like, oh, that's how you look at it. That's how you make it work. Look what I got. And together
I actually thought it was. I actually enjoyed the teamwork part of it to a certain extent. But it's nice to have a team that can catch things that you can't necessarily see after you've been staring at your own code for so long. One of the most satisfying parts for me was we pushed everything up to a separate branch that we had instead of master. We pushed it all up to dev, and when I merged dev to master, just like seeing all those commits that we had made was just like, yes.
David, that's a question.
Yeah, I do. So can you kind of go through some things you each individually tackled throughout the project?
We actually shared a lot of, so for the first thing we started with was we sat down at those tables and basically wrote out with dry erase marker what we wanted the site to look like, ultimately what we wanted out of the site. And we basically created our object constructor on the table before we ever typed it in. And so one of the first things we did was create this database, and we all went on our searches and found locations to add to a list, and we had a Google Doc that Dana created that we all just added to, with all these columns of what meal is it and what's the address and neighborhood and all that. And the styling also we shared. We all added different parts of the styling. Dana figured out the Google Maps API, which was apparently a pain.
We started. We wanted to. We all kind of decided to start with just kind of a very basic main page that you just land on. Where, as we've been talking about, we want to extend this to other services and things like that, rather than just have a big. I mean, obviously, that results page is just a big chart of a table of results and things like that. But just so that somebody can come to a site and just say, okay, maybe not make it multilingual, but make it understandable to multiple populations, where there's symbols, just basic text,
Right.
where you can at least start from somewhere where that kind of you get to where you need to go pretty easily. So we kind of all shared in those decisions of getting from page to page and wanting to have the confirmation or the make a reservation thing, and then also the additional resources page.
One of the things that we found initially when we were looking for all these locations was that a lot of the sites that had these services and stuff that they were offering were really cluttered and kind of hard to navigate. And so one of the very first things that we agreed on was that we wanted this page to be really simple and easy to understand, so that it doesn't pose an additional problem of what am I looking for,
We have a question.
What feature are you guys most proud of?
I particularly like this page where it's easy to like navigate to where you're trying to be or trying to go, and all the meals that are there, and just like having all the information kind of just at a glance. And this part where you click on it and see it on a map to be like, how far is this from me?
Yeah.
Yeah, for me that would be, if you click on one of these real quick, the map and how it shows you where you're at, again, for planning purposes, because I think anybody knows off right off the bat where these locations are, and kind of knowing, oh, it's on these streets on the map, but it's near that landmark, and I just take a right. But that's the biggest thing, the most attractive thing to me, but again, it's hard to separate one feature from others because they all complement each other and they serve that one purpose. So being able to have that food page that does what we want, I guess I'm satisfied with the whole page overall. And of course, there's more plans that we can and still have for it to add more features and expand. Yeah, it's hard to pick one thing, especially with all of us sharing the workload and like pairing up in different combinations, adding, removing things. Yeah, it's everything. I'm proud of everything.
It's kind of cool that like no one thing was just one person's doing. Like we all collaborated on all of it.
Good times.
Any more questions?
Is it hard to like work with CPI?
The API was getting it to work after the sort function happened. Just getting the function calls lined up properly so that it would still be functional. Like I think the first time implemented it, and then got the filtering thing working, the pin wouldn't work. Just having to sort of recall the function to display the map, and then just like getting those steps in order. And then also just like this morning, something that was just kind of like, oh crap, like in the last sort of phase of getting the display to really look nice, where we basically, the address, like if you just clicked on this address, it wouldn't actually show up on the map because it doesn't specify Seattle. So we had originally like Seattle, Washington, but it was like Seattle, like on all of the results, and it looked kind of cluttered. So Madriga took that away for the styling purposes, but then we were like trying to make sure it worked this morning. It was just like not putting a pin in the map, oh crap. So I had to go back into the code and just add a string to the Google Map rendering function. Just like figuring that part out was fun this morning. So that was something that we, just one of those like, let's make it look better, but then the functionality's gone. And like, how can we make it functional, and how can we do form and function at the same time? So the API, I still didn't figure out some of the finer points, like something popping out, like some kind of information popping up with the pin, or the map moving when, like you see if you could just scrolled over to, you can actually interact with the map. But there are a couple of like nuances, I think, to the API that we still figure out, but just the basics was. Yeah. Pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
Just one tangential question, but what are you guys using for storage for the reservations?
Are using JS for the reservations. We're using local storage.
Cool. Good job.
Yeah. You guys, you did it.